I am actually really uncomfortable making this video because I'm not even sure what I'm talking about. What's up, band geeks and orc dorks? Today, I'm gonna teach you how to improvise. This might not be the best video to watch before improvising, but at least this video will get you to do it right now, today. You can watch as many videos as you want on how to improvise, but you're not gonna be able to do it unless you just sit down and do it. But first, you need to think about two things. First thing is, don't worry about sounding like a turkey because you're gonna sound like a turkey. And the second thing is, you're gonna feel a little bit silly, because I did. But you're learning a new skill, so you should get over that too. So first I'm gonna tell you my story, and I'll put a timestamp below if you don't give a crap about my story and you just want to start. When I started to improvise, I was in high school, and I was in jazz band, and I played tenor sax in jazz band because for some reason I thought it would be easy because it's in B flat and clarinet is in B flat. But in actuality, my embouchure was a steel trap, and it was really hard to get the low notes out on tenor sax. I am not good at tenor sax, and I am not good at jazz. In fact, when I started to improvise, I wrote out a solo so that I played literally the same solo every time in the exact spot that I was supposed to solo. So I just played the same thing because I wrote it out because I'm really, really good at playing the notes that are already on the page. I'm not good at playing notes that are in a key that I haven't really thought of, and I'm not good at improvising. Fast forward to the summer between my first and second year of grad school, and I was going on a cruise with my family, and I thought it was gonna be this, like, you know, like old British people cruise. I was walking in the hallway, and I met this guy who was coming the opposite way, and he's like, "Hey, are you going to the nightclub?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we were gonna check it out," because I was with my cousin. And he was like, "Well, it's kind of lame right now." "Wait, you're American?" And I'm like, "Yes, we are American." Turn a very long story into a very short, condensed story. The entire Juilliard Jazz Band was on the boat. They realized I played clarinet, so two of them approached me the next day. They were like, "Hey, I'm a sax player, I've got a clarinet. Will you play Happy Birthday for us so that I can record it and send it to my friend?" So I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." We recorded a lovely version of Happy Birthday. He's like, "Hey, let's jam." And I was like, "I don't know how to jam or improvise. I'm a classical musician. That's not really what I learned as my specialty." Something that you have to keep in mind, though, is that Mozart and Beethoven, whenever they wrote out concertos, or anyone really from the Baroque era onward, when they wrote out compositions like concerto, whenever they wrote out their concerti, they would sort of write out a little sketch of what they wanted with certain landmarks and sort of like a little roadmap, but the notes themselves and the chords, they were kind of up to the soloist who was then going to be performing the piece. So improvisation has been a thing in classical music, and somehow we lost that. So being a classical musician, I felt like I was less of an artist because I didn't know how to improvise. Fast forward to a couple months later, and I'm with my two new friends, Tim and Taylor, and Tim and Taylor wrote a couple pieces, and they needed me to play bass clarinet on them. We were rehearsing them, and then every once in a while they would just start playing, and I would just kind of sit there awkwardly with my bass clarinet and watch them, and they'd be like, "Hey, join in. We're in the key of A," and I'm like, "I don't know how to play. I don't know how to improvise." They sort of knew that that wasn't my comfort zone, but they tried to get me out, and I was like really resistant. Fast forward one more time to a couple months ago when my friend Tim came to me with a piece that he wrote, and he was like, "Hey, I have this piece, and in it there's a 12-bar clarinet improvised solo." And I was like, "Damn it, Tim, you know I don't know how to improvise! But this is the perfect time for you to learn. I wrote it so you can, like, learn how to improvise, because that's what I want in this piece, an improvised solo, and I'm gonna, like, work with you and we'll figure it out." And I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna ruin your whole song because I don't know how to do this." I met with him and we went over a couple of, like, cool notes and sort of, like, the vibe that he wanted to get from the solo, and we've just been working on it, and I've been coming to rehearsals with some new ideas, and at first I was really timid to, like, add in little slides, and I was really timid to, like, have it, you know, be good. I was just scared, and because everybody else around me is really, really good at improvising, and I've never done it before because I've been incredibly hard-headed and stubborn about learning how to improvise. So basically, I've been improvising for a couple of months, and I'm getting much more comfortable with it. And the following is how I learned how to improvise and the tools that I used. And this may or may not be the best video to watch if you're just learning how to improvise, because I'm not a jazz musician and I didn't really learn the way that I feel like normal jazz people know how to improvise, but hopefully this is helpful. And if you're a jazz person watching this, it's probably going to be like super cringy, and if I say anything that you disagree with or a better way to do it, please leave a comment because I don't know what I'm talking about. So the first thing that I did when I was learning how to improvise is I had to learn a couple different scales. And major and minor scales, they're your friends. But you also need to know the pentatonic scale. And pentatonic, pent, has 5 notes. Let's just say, for all intents and purposes, a C. C is our root, C is our tonic, C is the first note of the scale. Like a major scale, you start with C, D, E. Then you skip the F, you go to G, you go to A, you skip the B, and you have your C, the octave. So you have C, D, E, G, A, octave. That is your major pentatonic scale. So you want to keep that in the back of your head. And then, if you want to get even funkier with it, you want to learn your minor pentatonic scales. And the cool thing about minor pentatonic scales is that it can turn into a blues scale. So we're going to skip the second note of the scale. So you have C, you skip the D, you have E flat. Then you have F, G, B flat, C. And to make it a blues scale, you've got C, E flat, F. If you want to add the sharp 4, which is an F sharp, that turns it bluesy. You have G, B flat, C. Honestly, if you just Google major pentatonic scales for clarinets or minor pentatonic scale for clarinet or blues scale for clarinet, you'll find a whole list of them on Google, and you'll probably just find a picture of it that you can print out and keep with you. But that's how you build the pentatonic scales. So just to go over it again, the way you build a blues scale is you have the root, you've got the flat 3, you've got the 4, the sharp 4, 5, flat 7, octave, if you want to look at it that way. That way you can take those numbers and apply it to any other scale. And I might just be giving you verbal diarrhea, but that's how the scales are built! And major pentatonic scales is scale degree 1, 2, 3, skip the 4, go to the 5, skip the 7, octave. So one of the things that I first did when I learned my blues scales is that I went on YouTube and I found a backing track of just a couple of blues chords, and honestly, if you just type in like C blues chord backing track, you'll find a YouTube video that has like basically chords and like a rhythm section and nothing else, and that is so that you can improvise over it. And I'll find one and link it below just so that you know what I'm talking about. And I sat in my room and I played a blues scale along with these really, really cheesy MIDI file backup tunes, and I sounded so silly and I felt so dumb and I sounded like a turkey. But it's okay, because that's your building block. You're new at this, so you're gonna suck for a little while, and you might sound silly, but you're technically playing all the right notes, and that's how you learn how to improvise. And the good thing about this is after you do it for a while on the same scale, you'll sort of just feel the notes that sound like they're the ones that are supposed to come next. Like, I don't play with the scales anymore, I just know what key I'm in, and it's muscle memory. I don't have to look at the notes, I don't even think about the notes, I just feel what my muscles just know what to do, my fingers just know where to go, because of practicing. Sorry, that was kind of creepy. Jazz, blues, and rock songs are all sort of thought about in terms of chord and chord structure and chord progressions. If you look at a jazz chart, you'll see over the, if you have the melody written out, you'll see little chord markings over each, time a chord changes, which is every bar, a couple times every bar. We're talking simple jazz charts. Actually, I can show you. For example, if you're playing Charlie Brown's Christmas, you can see, if you just look at the first line, you'll be able to see up here, I don't know if that's going to be blurry, up here over the beginning of each bar, you can see the chords that are being used. Which can be difficult if you're a clarinet player because you look at that, I mean, this is in C, so like if you have an actual clarinet part, it'll be in B flat. But there is a little bit of transposing involved sometimes. You figure out what scale goes with that key, and then you improvise on that scale. Is this making any sense? I feel like I'm a poser. So I'm not good at classical music theory, and I'm even worse at jazz theory. But the key is whether or not you want to go into the specifics of what chord you're about to play, what the chord progression is, what inversion the chord is in, what scale goes with what key, and etc. The best way to figure things out is to just experiment. Just get your instrument out and just start. An E flat might sound really bad over one chord, but really killer over another chord. So even if you just want to like play and hold out an E flat and just see where it sounds cool, you can do that. And there was one night a couple weeks ago where I was listening to The Clash, and the song Straight to Hell came on, and I had my clarinet out, and I was noodling out, and I figured out the really simple melody, and then once I figured that out, you can figure out what key it's in, and then I played like a couple little notes in between the singing, and like it sounded kind of cool. So just play along with songs. Listen to a lot of jazz, listen to a lot of songs. Like just pick any song that's not a classical music song and play along with it. Like, honestly, if you like The Clash, play along with The Clash. If you like Metallica, play along with Metallica. Like, just play along with anything. You're by yourself. No one's gonna judge you unless you tell people about it on YouTube. So, when you're practicing, the main thing to realize is that there are no mistakes. Yes, there are no mistakes. If you play a note that sounds really super crunchy against the chords, just play it 2 or 3 more times louder and louder and louder, and it will seem like you meant to do it. You're just being expressive with the tonality. The big thing with improvising is confidence. If you play a wrong note, play it loud, play it proud. Even though it might be wrong, you still did it. You don't want to play a wimpy wrong note. You want to play a wrong note and sell it like you meant it. And if you wanted to get crazy with it, just play a chromatic scale and then slide up to altissimo notes and then just trill everything. If anything, it'll be super interesting to listen to. And the good news is, the more you do this, the better you'll get at it. Practice, 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 practice. Okay, so once you've sort of solidified your ability to play along with music and you have a better grasp at the scales and like sort of how things work, the next step is to find other musicians to play with. So find some friends, join a local jazz band, find a jazz band that is looking for, just random people to improvise with. Go to improv nights. Just Google whatever is happening around you. There might be a band that meets and they just get together and improvise. And you can bring your stuff and you can show what you've got even if you don't have a lot. Just be really confident. Now that you have the ability to jam, you or your friends, or you can think about organizing something that we do here, which is called the Improv potluck. And the whole point of an improv potluck is for a bunch of people to come, bring their instruments, bring a food. You sort of put your names into a hat, you pick a couple out, and then with those, 2 or 3 people, you're gonna get up stage and you're gonna play something for like 5 minutes or something. And this is an informal gathering. Your only audience is going to be other musicians and like friends of other musicians who just want food and who want to like listen to some music. And it might be really bad. It also might be really good. But it will definitely be really fun, and it will yank you out of your comfort zone if you've never improvised before and throw you into something new, which is the whole point of me making this video. I am actually really uncomfortable making this video because I'm not even sure what I'm talking about. So if you get your friends together, you have some food, if you're of legal drinking age, you can have a drink, get up on stage or get up in the little performance area and just go. Just do it. And the more you'll do it, the better you'll get and the more comfortable you'll get. And maybe the people who are there will be able to help you and give you ideas and give you things to listen to. Every single time I meet with the sextet that I improvise with, you know, going back to the story about my friend Tim, his sextet, every time I'm there, I hear of a new jazz album that just came out, or, you know, a concert that they're all going to, and I'll join at the last minute. And I've seen and I've heard some amazing things that I would have never gone to myself, but because I know these guys and they're super, super into this music, they're just like, oh, submerged. They know about all of the new albums that are coming out and all of the people who are coming into town, and I try to keep up with it, and even I don't know. So every time somebody says, oh, you've got to listen to this, I listen to it, because that's how you expand your knowledge out of a little classical music bubble, and you just expand it, because the more music you listen to and the more comfortable you get in other genres, the better of a musician and an artist you will become. Back when I was in college, I think I knew more string repertoire than I knew clarinet repertoire. To this day, I know some horn concertos better than I know clarinet concertos. Like, you need to know a wide variety just in the classical music sense in order to fully grasp what you're playing as a clarinetist. So, in my situation, I couldn't escape learning how to improvise, and I am so glad that I was forced to improvise against my will, because I would have never learned how to. And because I know how to improvise now, it has opened new doors for me. Yeah, like sometimes I'll still feel like I sound like a turkey, and yeah, I'm like kind of nervous when I improvise in front of people who improvise all the time, but it's pushing me further and further out of my comfort zone, and I'm taking more risks, and I'm more confident about it, and it's confidence that is key. I not only play Beethoven, Brahms, and Mozart now, but I also play Amy Winehouse and Stevie Wonder. A couple months after I got comfortable playing with that band, I met a couple of other musicians who asked me if I could improv, and I said yes, and they were like, whoa, you want to play on Charlie Brown Christmas? And I was like, yes! And it felt so good to be able to answer the question, do you know how to improvise? With a confident, yes, I do. Go grab your instrument, get comfortable with your scales, start improvising on like MIDI files that you find on YouTube, play along with your favorite songs, figure them out, and like just go right now, go improvise.